This is an orbital strike cannon, an insanely advanced redstone machine capable of sending a literal nuke to anywhere in the Minecraft world instantly on command. Whoa, 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 whoa. How are you expecting us to understand how to do nuclear warfare in a block game if you haven't even learned the basics of redstone and how stuff works? Like, you need to teach us a little bit more here before you start giving us the exams. Like,
You're right. I should probably know that most of you might not know a lot of redstone. And going off of that assumption, I'm going to start with the basics and teach you pretty much everything I think I know about redstone so that you can improve a lot at technical Minecraft in general. Alright, so let's start from the very bottom and start going up little by little. Firstly, I need to explain what redstone is. Basically, redstone is simply a way of networking signals from an input to an output. In this case, I have a lever, which will power this redstone dust, which will power this lamp. So essentially, it starts the input here, and the signal runs through the wire and reaches the lamp. Start us off right now, I'm going to try and list most of the common input types that people often use in redstone. Starting with the lever. Simple. It turns this on and off when you flick the lever. A redstone block can send a powered source. An entity passing through a tripwire. A skulk sensor detecting movement. The skulk sensor can detect any sound actually, but there is a way to make it detect specific sounds to send a signal, which I'll show you later. A redstone torch can also send a redstone signal. A comparator reading a signal from a block, which I will explain in a moment. A lightning rod being struck by lightning. An entity stepping on a pressure plate. Pushing a button. A projectile hitting a target. A minecart passing over a detector rail. An observer detecting changes in a wall behind it. This also will be explained in a moment. And that's basically it for the input types, at least the most commonly used ones. Now I'm going to explain a few that probably need some more detail. A comparator basically reads a signal strength from something behind it. So if this lectern right here has a book in it, the amount of pages that the lectern is turned to tells the comparator what signal strength to output. So there's 15 different signal strengths in total. It goes 0 to 15. If I go to page 3 or 2 out of 15, it will send a signal strength of 2. And the redstone dust will carry that for however many blocks the signal strength is, with a maximum of 15. If it is 13, it'll send a signal strength of 13. And it will travel 13 blocks. Now an observer can detect changes behind it and send a pulse. So this includes placing blocks, breaking blocks, doing note blocks. This is one of the most common one, is right-clicking a note block, or sending a signal through a note block. And this is just to list a few. Basically any change behind an observer will cause it to power. Now you can change the sound a skulk sensor looks for when you change the signal strength that's being input to a calibrated skulk sensor. So if you take a calibrated skulk sensor and you put a certain signal strength into it, right now it's 1, with a comparator, it will change what the skulk sensor activates from. So right now it's 1, and as you can see, the level 1, you can see from the tooltip at the bottom, is for movement. So when I move around, it will detect that. If I change the signal strength to 2, it doesn't detect moving. Instead, it will detect things like an arrow hitting a block. If you change the signal strength to 3, it will be activated by a player using an item. So this could mean eating. It could mean throwing a fishing rod. And the list goes on and on. There's plenty of things that, plenty of specific sounds that it can detect changes for. But that's basically what a calibrated sculk sensor does. I'm going to list most of the primary, most commonly used outputs instead of inputs. There's a Redstone repeater, which basically just repeats a full signal of any signal. So if you have a signal strength of like 11, it will always output 15 no matter what. So if you put any signal strength in it, it will output this like signal strength 15 and repeat the signal. So you can use repeaters to make longer redstone lines than 15. However, they also add delay. So as you can see, it does not go instantly like it does with normal redstone dust. Redstone ticks have a delay of 1 to 4 redstone ticks. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 is the shortest delay. 4 is the longest delay. But it will always output 15 signal strength. Then there's no blocks, which just play a sound when they are activated. They play different sounds depending what block they are on, however. Here are some examples. And the note that they play can be changed by right-clicking them. Redstone lamp, which powers on when clicked. A copper bulb, which is like a redstone lamp, but acts as a toggle switch. So one pulse turns it off, and one pulse turns it on again, instead of going on and off for one pulse. An activator rail activates whatever sort of minecart is on top of it actively. So, for a normal minecart, what this does is it kicks the player out of the minecart if they're in it and the activator rail is activated. Then it kicks the player out, or whatever is inside it. A minecart with TNT, it will activate the TNT inside the minecart, which causes it to explode. And then there is also a powered rail, which simply causes, like by default, it can't move that easily. So it's very slow when you try to move on a powered rail. But if you power the powered rail, it moves very quickly. And this is specifically apparent if you place a block on one side of the powered rail, it will immediately go the other direction. Also, if the powered rail is slanted, and then you activate it, it will let it travel down the slope. An observer, which I talked about earlier, a normal piston, which pushes the block and does not pull it back, and a sticky piston, which pushes the block and pulls it back. The limit for both is that they can push 12 blocks at a time. So if you try to make it push more than 12 blocks, it just won't work. Also, something useful to note is that sticky pistons, sticky pistons can use, or any piston actually, can use slime and honey to carry blocks from multiple angles. So normally, you would have it go like this, and it would only pull the first block back. But if you put slime, you can extend it, and you can also make it do from like other angles. However, it still has the limit of 12 blocks, so you can't push or pull more than 12 blocks. A crafter, which works by you inputting some sort of recipe, and then activating it to craft that recipe. This can be any recipe you want. A door, which opens when the signal is on and closes when the signal is off. It's important to note that the iron door is the only door that can't be opened by the player, so I'm right-clicking right now. You can't open it, but you can do it with other doors. Other doors also still take resonance signals, though, but iron doors are the only ones that only take resonance signals. This is a trapdoor. The same thing applies. It works the same way, and an iron trapdoor is the only one that can't be opened directly by the player. A gate, there is no iron variant, but a gate basically stops any entities from passing through it while it is closed. A bell, which is rung whenever you activate it. A dispenser, which can dispense certain items, like a potion, a shulker box, and an arrow. And then there's a dropper, which looks like a dispenser, but you can tell it's not a dispenser, which drops the items directly. A TNT, which when activated gets lit. It has a fuse of exactly 4.5 seconds every time before it explodes, and it always has about 0.02 blocks per tick of momentum in a random direction whenever it spawns. Now there's a comparator, which I talked about earlier, but to go into more detail, a comparator will repeat whatever signal you put into it, so it's getting a signal strength 11, and it puts out a signal strength 11. And this can be changed chained up however long you want. So you can do this, you can do it like this, but also, a comparator, when you right click it, turns to subtract mode. You can tell because of this little torch lighting up. And then, instead of doing it normally, also like with a normal comparator, if you put a signal into the side of it and the back at the same time, when it's on its normal mode, it'll output a signal only if the signal from the back is greater or less than the signal from the side. So right now, 15 signal that's being put into it from the back is greater than the signal that's being put in from the side, which is 13. However, if we put in a signal strength of 13 from the primary, and then from the side we put in 15, it does not output a signal because 15 is not less than 13. However, on subtract mode, it works differently. Instead, it will subtract the side value from the primary value. So right now you have 13 minus 13, which is 0. But 15 minus 13 is 2, so it outputs a signal strength of 2. With either of these modes, it will always take the greater source of input from one of the sides. So that's how that works. Then we have hoppers, which don't really directly act as an input or an output, but I'll still include them because they're one of the best redstone components that pretty much everyone uses. A hopper simply takes an input and transfers it to whatever's below it. So if you put items in any sort of container above it, it will take the item and put it in whatever's below it. However, if you activate the hopper with any signal, it will neither take the items, and it will not output items. It will be frozen in whatever state it's currently in until you unlock it. It's also very important to know that an output, as long as it also creates an input, will always transfer a signal or any sort of input directly from what's relatively behind it. So, no matter what you chain together, it will always take the signal from whatever directly inputted into it. So you can still chain events like this observer going into this repeater, going into this observer, going into this repeater, which will still result in whatever output the last item that you put in the chain gives. Now here are some basic types of redstone clocks, which are basically simple mechanisms that repeat a signal multiple times continuously. There's an observer clock, which is very simple. You just have two observers, one facing this direction and one facing this direction, and they will start powering each other because every time this one changes when it powers, it makes this one realize that something changed with powers, which does the same to this one, which does the same to this one, etc., etc. Then there's a comparator clock, which is one of the most commonly used ones. You'll see it in farms and stuff. Basically, it uses this mechanism to repeat itself forever, and the delay of a comparator clock is determined by the delay of the repeaters. So right now, the repeaters are both on 1 tick delay, so it goes pretty fast, but if you add more delay slowly, the clock becomes slower. And you can also add as many repeaters as you want, as long as it still uses the same form. Then there's this clock. You've seen this one probably a couple times. It's similar, but it requires a specific amount of pulse. So if you turn it on for too long, it'll lock itself up. So instead you have to do a quick pulse, which starts the clock. And by doing less delay, you can make the clock a lot faster. Then there's also a torch clock. Now there are a couple variants of this. This one is called a torch burnout clock. Basically you put this here, a redstone dust here, and because it powers the torch super fast, it will burn itself out after a few pulses. Since the redstone torch can be deactivated by an input going into it from a block, which also works if it's right here. The redstone torch powers the block above it, which powers the redstone dust, which turns off the redstone torch, which turns off the redstone dust, which turns on the redstone torch, etc., etc. However, if you want it to stop burning out, you can simply change it slightly like this. And since now it's not activating the torch too fast, it'll basically go on forever. If you wanted to stop it, you can just put a signal into any of these blocks, and it'll stop. So basically that's how this works. Now for the sake of time and the fact that this is supposed to be a series of short tutorials, I'm going to stop here until the next lesson. The best thing I would tell you to take away from this to try and practice is just look at other people's builds sometimes. Basically just throw stuff at the wall, because the entirety of Redstone relies on inputs and outputs, and the more you just try stuff, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense, the more you'll understand how it works. So on that note, I think just try and practice a little bit, and if you want, I'll make the next part of the series. I'm not sure if I'll continue, but I probably will, so stay tuned for that if you want to. And hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully you learned something. Comment if you think I missed anything. But other than that, see you in the next tutorial. Peace.